Well, what's going on, guys? It's me, Jay. News to report on WWE websites, wrestling websites, wrestling speculation websites. It's all over the internet. The imminent return of former UFC, former WWE Women's Champion, legend in the combat sports world and the world of professional wrestling. The return of Ronda Rousey. Now we know who is going to win the 2022 Women's Royal Rumble. It's completely obvious. It's sort of like how we know who's going to win the 2022 Men's Royal Rumble. Obviously, Roman Reigns. I'd be surprised if it isn't. But with this news about Ronda, she is finally coming back. She is finally returning to the WWE after being gone since, well, we haven't seen her since WrestleMania 35 when she, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte main evented the historic main event in New York City 3 years ago. She first appeared in the WWE, well, at WrestleMania 31 in that segment with The Rock. I mean, that's when she was on top of the world, when she was undefeated, before she knew of Holly Holm and Amanda Nunes. But she appeared for her WWE career in 2018 at the Royal Rumble when when they did their first women's Royal Rumble, when Asuka pointed to the sky. And then, of course, she had that stellar debut at WrestleMania 34 when she teamed with fellow Olympian, fellow former Olympian, your Olympic hero Kurt Angle, returning to the WWE after being gone for more than a decade. Now, 12 years to be exact. Now she is coming back after 3 years to the WWE. Now, but my question is, why though? Obviously, she became a mother last year. She and Travis Brown, and when she exited the WWE, she had a lot of choice words. She was going on several podcasts dissing professional wrestling, dissing wrestling fans, dissing a lot of the girls that worked hard that whole year she was with the company to put her over, smashed her over. She became one of the biggest media sensations in the WWE, kind of gave the WWE upswing in their ratings that they haven't seen in a long time before then, like 20 years. But at the same time, a lot of girls were complaining, specifically Alexa Bliss and others were complaining that she was very hard to work with. She was difficult to work with. She came from the MMA world, the jiu-jitsu world, the competitive sports world. So obviously adjusting to the environment that was professional, that it was and is professional wrestling was difficult for her, the worked environment. In fact, she used, in reference to professional wrestling, the dreaded F word that we don't use in reference to professional wrestlers because we know it is a sign of disrespect when it comes to those men and women that put their bodies on the line for our entertainments. She was very similar to Brock Lesnar. I, I have a, she's on my timeline, so I respect her hustle. I respect what she was about when she was with the company. She brought a lot of fame and recognition to the company again. So taking nothing away from her. But everybody comes back unless you're Macho Man Randy Savage or China. Everybody always comes back. Vince always has the moolah and the green to welcome everybody back. Even those like Brock Lesnar who left the way Brock Lesnar left, or Bruno Sammartino who tried to defame the company and tried to put the company down on several occasions, eventually found himself back in the good graces of WWE. Even Sable, who sued the WWE at one point, even the Ultimate Warrior, who was himself defamed by the WWE and had a lot of animosity towards the company. Eventually, before his passing in 2014, found himself coming back to the company. So now Ronda is doing the same. She talked a lot of shit about the girls that put her over, about the girls that made it possible for her to be the success that she became. Because, as the Ultimate Warrior said on that Raw after WrestleMania 30, but the night before he passed away, nobody becomes a legend on their own. Not in the world of professional wrestling, anyway, and not here in the world of YouTube either, and not even in regular life, because even in a competitive sport like mixed martial arts, still Dana White took a chance on her. And Dana White was the one who promoted her fight. She electrified the MMA world. I said she was kind of like the Hulk Hogan of MMA, because when she would have her fights, people that were not interested in MMA and didn't know really anything about MMA. I had started to watch MMA a little bit before her, like in the latter half of the 2000s, like the Tito Ortiz, Ken Shamrock era, when Ken Shamrock came back to the UFC in 2002. I started to watch it a little bit. And like when Chuck Liddell and stuff came out, and Rashad Evans and Lyoto Machida, but it was still underground. It was still something that was in kind of the atmosphere, of wrestling fans or ex-wrestling fans, at that point. In fact, there was this channel years ago, used to be the Wrestling Roundtable with Eric Santamaria and all these, wrestling fan guys that would discuss the business in the latter half of the 2000s, like '06, '07, '08, '09, and they started to really expose me to MMA. But when Ronda Rousey came out, people were talking about MMA that never watched. I never knew them to watch MMA. I never knew them to watch professional wrestling. I didn't know them to be in that circle. Bad people was talking about it that became casual fans, and their eyeballs got drawn to the product. Yeah, Lisa saying she needs the money. Exactly. Their eyes got drawn to the product of MMA that never was drawn to the product of MMA. Even Lisa herself, years ago, when Ronda had the fight with Holly Holm, the one where she got knocked out, Lisa was herself making a video and talking about MMA at that point. And that really shocked me, because a lot of people that were talking about MMA at that point, I didn't know to be MMA fans, really. Because when MMA first started gaining popularity in the latter half of the 2000s, it was underground, right? It was Ronda who made it popular. And then she had those two historic losses to Amanda Nunes and Holly Holm, respectively. And then she exited MMA and she got into professional wrestling. And then she got a lot of criticism from professional wrestling fans, and she couldn't handle the criticism from professional wrestling fans. So she exited professional wrestling as well. And she had a show on Fox, the one with Angela Bassett. I think it was Angela Bassett, right? At least that was on that show on Fox. You know, that Ronda was in for like a one season, and then now she finds herself in this situation that she finds herself. Yeah, 911. Lisa, you're right. Um, she finds herself in the world of in there's nothing valuable for her to do because she's not. She was a disgraced loser, just like Conor McGregor. Just let's be honest. Her and Conor McGregor, they stand as the faces of mixed martial arts when mixed martial arts in the latter half of the 2010s became really popular to the mainstream. People that don't know anything about mixed martial arts and wouldn't be able to tell you any other fighter, male or female, would know who Ronda Rousey and Conor McGregor was. But the mistake that they both made is they turned out to be more hype than substance. You know, obviously, with with Ronda having that wrestling aura, having paying tribute. Yeah, yeah. Lisa's absolutely right. She was gonna come back, but she ain't coming. She's not coming. She was not gonna come back if one, the money wasn't right. That event's gotta come with that check, right? You know. Two, she had the baby. Three, she wasn't gonna come back in front of an empty audience. But this is not fair. You know what I mean? Because what WWE will do is they'll have her win the Royal Rumble over the other girls that've been putting in the work. Yeah, wow, Lisa's coming with knowledge that I never knew that she knew. Lisa, she wants to do they want to do a Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch singles match at WrestleMania. Yeah, I, obviously, because Becky Lynch came back earlier this summer. But my thing is, a lot of these girls, a lot of these underneath girls, they've been busting their butts. They've been putting in the work over these past 2 years, and they will get pushed to the side just because she's a name, just because she has name recognition. And the WWE is always looking to jump on the bandwagon of somebody that has a name, somebody that has name recognition. Basically, the WWE is clout. They're clout chasers, bro. You know, like they're the original clout chasers in the world. If they see something is popular, they will try to get that person to do a storyline in the WWE just to get people talking. Matter of fact, they wanted to do that way back in the day in 1996 when OJ was in the OJ Simpson debacle. They wanted to have him wrestle Goldust in a match. So that's the uh, that goes to show you the kind of sensationalism that WWE is involved with. But yeah, a singles match at WrestleMania. Yeah, Ronda should fight Tamira Mensah Stock from the Olympics last year. I would love to see that, Lisa, but real. Like, forget about professional wrestling and the fake nature or the work nature of professional wrestling. If they're gonna go at it, let them go at it for real. For realsies, right? Like the saying goes. You know what I mean? Like, let them really go at it. Or even though this won't work because she's still the UFC champion and she's still with the UFC and uh, she's still with she's still fighting with the UFC. Bring Amanda Nunes into the WWE. It wouldn't really work because she don't really have English like that. She speaks Portuguese, so she can't really do the interviews. But they wouldn't do something like that. Yeah, Tamara will win. Yeah, because Ronda is not. Well, Tamara really don't have hands either, coming from her background, because they both come from a grappling wrestling background. But still, Ronda gotta have rust when it comes to a real fight. Oh, the Rocks. Oh, yeah, Nia Jax, right? Yeah, Nia Jax. But Nia Jax was actually breaking women's noses, man, like for real. You know, what I mean? Like Survivor Series 2018, she actually broke Becky Lynch's face, and that's how Becky Lynch got on that. Uh, I'm the man. That's how she became the man, Becky Lynch. From uh, Survivor Series 2018 when Nia Jax, The Rock's cousin, broke her nose. So yeah, The Rock has a lot of cousins in WWE, but yeah, I would love to see Ronda. To me, Ronda and Sasha Banks is where the money is. So if they're gonna do it, because Sasha Banks is my girl number one since I seen her wrestle freaking at the Barclays Center against Bailey in the 30 women Ironman match back in 2014. And my first video, or one of my first videos, got 200 and something likes from her and retweeted from her, back in the day. But her and Ronda is where the money is, not Becky and Ronda. Becky and Ronda is where the history is. They didn't like each other. Um, Ronda probably gonna get the win back from when Becky won the two titles at WrestleMania 35 from her. But I feel it's where the money at is with Sasha, because I mean Sasha is mainstream now. She's on Super Bowl, she's on football commercials, she's on The Mandalorian season 2. She's well known by people outside of the world of professional wrestling. She has finally gotten her just due. And not only that, when the pandemic was hitting hard and nobody was really watching professional wrestling really at all, men or the women, it was Sasha Banks and Bailey, those two that were carrying the torch of the WWE in 2020, the pandemic era. They didn't get all the ratings, but they were out there pushing. So I say, if you're gonna do a main event, do her and Sasha. And plus, her and Sasha, they don't like each other. Like, they really don't like each other even in the back, because of the four horsewoman thing. Ronda had her four horsewomen, the four horsewomen of MMA, and the four horsewomen of WWE were coming up at around the same time as they were. So if they're not going to do Tamira Mensah stock, like Lisa is saying, or they're not going to do, obviously they're not going to do Nia Jax because she was let go. So they're not going to do her. So they're not going to do that. Becky Lynch and Ronda, that's some boring shit. Do Sasha and Ronda for the title. Or put the SmackDown Championship on one of the girls and then put the Raw Championship on another one. But The Rock's cousin makes sense too. If she was still there, if they bring her back, because you're having one MMA star, a man, Brock Lesnar, take on a cousin of The Rock and Roman Reigns, and you're gonna have a female cousin of The Rock take on another MMA star in Ronda Rousey. So that makes sense, but I don't think that's really gonna happen. I think they are gonna go with Becky Lynch and Ronda the singles for the singles championship at Mania, but I would say Sasha and Ronda is where the money is, or maybe Bianca Belair and Ronda. Bianca Belair was even on Power, so she's kind of mainstream too. So we'll see where they go with this, but definitely I think that Ronda Rousey is going to win the Royal Rumble 2022 this year for the women's division. And we'll see what they come up with. Maybe one-on-one, her and Becky. Maybe her and Sasha and Becky, a triple threat. Bayley is not going to be in the mix, and that's really sad because Bayley hasn't ever, out of the whole the four horsewomen of WWE, I'm not sure about the four horsewomen of MMA. I know that Shayna Baszler was one of them. She's been doing big things with the WWE since she got there. But I'm not sure about the four horsewomen of MMA, who they are, besides Ronda and Shayna Baszler. There's two other ones, but they haven't done anything really. But the four horsewomen of WWE, I've been following them since they first all came to the WWE in 2012, 13, and they made that journey together. NXT TakeOver in Brooklyn, 30 women Iron Man match. I was there. I witnessed when they all said goodbye to each other. When Bayley and Sasha say goodbye. And Bayley is the only one out of the four of them that has never had her WrestleMania moment. She's never had her moment at main eventing WrestleMania. Charlotte has been there. Sasha was there last year. Becky has been there. Becky was there 2019. She pinned Ronda for the championship. Becky 2 belts. But Bayley has never been at that mountaintop. So I felt it should have been Bayley, but obviously Bayley is now robbed of her moment, of her WrestleMania moment, because Ronda Rousey is coming back. That sucks, man. Bayley was like Sasha. She was out there pushing. You know what I mean? Her and Sasha, even over the men, 2020, they were holding the banner. Roman wasn't there. Brock was barely there. Ronda wasn't there. John Cena was gone from the company. He was making movies, so he wasn't there. Nobody was there during the pandemic era except Becky and Bayley and Sasha. Becky wasn't there because she had a kid. They both had children at that time, Bayley and Ronda. So that'll probably be the story of it. Two mothers, right? First time ever two mothers faced each other at WrestleMania. First time ever, two mothers facing each other at WrestleMania. They're gonna bring babies out, but uh, it was Bailey and Sasha. Bailey and Sasha were carrying on every show in 2020. They were the flagship of the WWE. They were the face of the WWE in 2020 and part of 2021, but mostly 2020, right? Before Roman came back, them and The Fiend. The Fiend was carrying it for the men, and Bailey and Sasha were carrying it for the women when they were the golden role models. And I talked about it on my channel a lot, how they were my favorite tag team because of what it meant to me personally when I went to the Barclays Center in 2014 to see that NXT takeover, the NXT Iron Woman match, 30-minute Iron Woman match. That changed the game for women's wrestling, and Bailey has never gotten her just due. She's never gotten her flowers for that. And my thing is, she won't get her flowers this year. I mean, think about it. Last year, the whole concept of Bailey's appearances on the WrestleMania show was centered about her complaining to Hulk Hogan and Titus O'Neil that she didn't get a Mania main event. So give her her Mania main event. Give Bailey her WrestleMania moment. You can still have Ronda win and then have Bailey involved somehow. I made a video years ago. The video I said that Sasha Banks tweeted out. Push Sasha, give Sasha a chance. Now I'm saying for Bailey, give Bailey the chance. Give Bailey the flowers that she deserves this WrestleMania. The showcase of the Immortals. The grandest stage of them all. The show of shows. We gotta see where it heads. But whatever it's gonna be one for the history books for WrestleMania 38 at the AT&T Center. And how fitting, because when they went to the AT&T Center in 2016, the first time, they wanted to have Ronda and The Rock be in the mixed tag match, but it fell through. Ronda was still trying to pursue MMA, so she didn't come in. But anyway, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the bell button. And I'm trying to put this watermark on here. But thank you, Lisa, for contributing. Peace, guys. We got to see where the Royal Rumble takes us. Because we're on that road, baby. We're on that road for 2022 WrestleMania 38. Every year, wrestling fans get excited around this time of year because this is the Christmas for wrestling fans. This is the big day for wrestling fans coming up, WrestleMania. So we got to see what they're going to do for WrestleMania. And if my prediction is right, that Ronda is going to win the 2022 Women's Royal Rumble. Peace.